Good morning, Catalyst. I'm going to invite you to come find a seat, find a place to sit down. I love hearing the conversations, but we're going to get rolling this morning. So if you want to come this direction, find an open seat. There are a few tables that have available chairs at them. Good morning. My name is Mike Gunnarsson, and I want to welcome you to April's Catalyst Gathering. It's a gathering of Stanislaus County's local influencers and leaders. And so that's the way we see you. And so we want to just say thanks for being here and welcome this morning. To begin with, I just want to remind us what Catalyst is all about. So I know that you're here because you believe this, but I just want to remind us what it's for. Catalyst is a place for community conversations and connections that matter. We create monthly a safe space for us to come together to address issues that are facing our community. And I just want to remind us that we are different people coming from different perspectives. We won't all have the same perspective, but really we have a heart to say, how do we benefit our community? And that's really what Catalyst is all about. Our hope is that you would come and connect with people who have like passions and hearts as you do, that you would connect, you would begin to build trust. And out of these relationships, then, we would begin to see how we can collaborate together to impact our community. So that really is what our hope is coming out of Catalyst this morning. Before we get too far into the morning, I want to just recognize and say thank you to a few of our sponsors. We'll put those up on the screen here in a minute. There are organizations who help financially make this morning possible, and so we just want to recognize them. We have Access Plus Capital, Oak Valley Community Bank, Rolling F Credit Union, Stanislaus Equity Partners, or STEP, and Fletcher Dentistry. And those are all organizations that have financially made this morning possible. If you are a social media influencer, which I think means that you have people who follow you, either on Facebook or X or Twitter, or I'm not even sure where else it goes. But if you're an influencer, would you do me a favor this morning, and would you sign in to your account and just tell people that you are at Catalyst? That helps to kind of spread the word. We want to become even more influential in accomplishing what we're trying to do here, bringing people together to address issues in our community. So if you would do that for me this morning, that would be great. This is April. Can you believe it's April already? Our year is flying by, but I love April. And one of the things I love about April is it begins with National Tomfoolery Day, or April Fool's Day. Did you know that the first week in April is known as Laugh at Work Week? So Laugh at Work Week. Anybody got to experience that already this week? The week's not over. You can still join into that, but that's what this week is known as. I didn't know this, but April is also known as Irritable Bowel Syndrome Awareness Month. Yeah. I have been missing out all these years. You know, we start with April Fool's Day in April, but we end the month with Love Our Cities, Love Modesto, Love Stanislaus County. And so this morning we just want to take a moment to recognize that organization, that event coming up. And we have come on up, Jeff, we have our own CEO and founder of Love Our Everything. Jeff, share with us about the event and then something new that's coming up.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, hey, end of this month, April 27th, we're going to have 15 cities in our community all volunteering and loving their city. On your table, there's this Love Modesto flyer. Everybody take this Love Modesto flyer. Check out over 100 projects where we're going to be loving our community on this day. If your organization or your effort that you're doing is still in need of volunteers, April 27th, it's not too late. We would love to sign you up and get you on our website and get you as many volunteers as you need. Now, the end goal of Love Modesto is not the day. The end goal is continual volunteerism, continual involvement, and pride and love for our community all year round. And so I want to introduce to you Volunteer Central. That's the other flyer. Everybody look at the other flyer on your table. Volunteer Central. It's Love Modesto year round. It's Love Your City all year round. It's the perfect complement to the annual Volunteer Day. So what is Volunteer Central? Here we go. It's an online platform eager to connect people who want to volunteer to organizations and individuals who need help. Users can find unique volunteer opportunities in our community and track their volunteer hours as well. So it's getting involved in our community. It's seeing ongoing ways to volunteer, like weekly opportunities, monthly opportunities, it's one-time opportunities, all year round. Right now, there's not a place to go, right? What do you Google and what do you find? Now there's going to be a place to go. What is this platform going to look like? You'll see a screenshot of the app that will be released here soon. There'll be two categories, partner organizations. We've got Sierra Vista, we've got the Food Initiative, and others. That great organizations in our community are going to be listed here. Then they're going to list their volunteer opportunities. You'll be able to scroll and see what's coming up this week. What is something that you love to do? Maybe you love animals, work with animals. Here's the organizations that about ways to volunteer working with animals. There will be a leaderboard. You'll be able to compete against people your age for the most volunteer hours in our community. Your screen name will be on our app. And then there'll be rewards. For every 10 hours a person volunteers, they're going to be eligible for reward. We already got Starbucks on board, Yogurt Mill, Raising Cane's, Chick-fil-A, Funworks, you name it. There's going to be a reward to kind of incentivize and have fun. Volunteerism should be fun, right? It should be fun. So if you are interested to learning more and for your organization and being a part of this, we're going to be by that back door as you leave. We've got some more detailed information we want to give you and answer your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff. And is there a proposed release date for this? Okay, all right. We won't go there. I actually went soon, coming soon. Yeah, I went last night looking for it and didn't find it yet, but coming soon. Excellent. Thank you, and thank all of you for what you do in our community. You know, the world is constantly changing, and here at Catalyst, we often talk about leadership and leadership skills and how to influence our community for the better. This morning, what we want to do is discuss something a little bit different. We want to talk about not just leading well, but following well. This morning's Catalyst aims to elevate and illuminate followership skills and the many benefits that brings to us as individuals, our organizations, and even our community. And so what I want you to do is on the screen, there's going to come a QR code, and what we want to do is get some feedback from you. So before we jump in and begin talking about followership, what I want you to do is you can either go to slido.com and put in that number, or you can just take your camera and point it at the QR code there, touch your screen, and it should open that web page up. But what word comes to your mind when you hear the term followership? So just as you're thinking, maybe you don't have any clue, just like I didn't before this topic came up. What word comes to mind when you hear followership? Servant leader, okay? And here we are seeing your answers here. Humility, that's good. Listening. Strength. Service, excellent. Partnering, that's great. Trust, okay. Unity. And you can put in other words as they come to mind. You can do this more than once if you want. You keep going. And the more somebody uses the same term, the bigger the word gets, if you're wondering why some of the words are bigger than others. So this is excellent. So followership is kind of our topic today. And what I want us to do is we're going to take 5 to 8 minutes, and we just want to invite you to talk around your table. And we're going to have a question here. The question is there a difference between followership and leadership? If so, what? So I'm going to give you a chance around your tables to take a little bit of time. It also is a chance for you to get to know those. If you don't know who's at your table, please introduce yourself and get to know them. But the discussion, is there a difference between followership and leadership? And if so, what is it? Go ahead and chat. All right. I'm hearing great conversation around the table. I hope you've gotten to know somebody that you didn't know before this morning. We're going to, in a moment here, we're going to have our special guest speaker come on up. And so I just want to take a moment and introduce him. This morning, we have the pleasure of having Dr. Chris Fuzie with us. And he is a nationally and internationally known author, speaker, and consultant. He is the owner, CEO, and senior consultant for CMF Leadership Consulting. His company offers public service-oriented consulting, executive coaching for organizations of all sizes and people of various backgrounds. For 12 years now, he has worked as a leadership, management, and human resources consultant or coach, training behavior-based leadership practices nationally. He's been a speaker at several national and international conferences on the topic of followership. He's the author of 3 books, a 4th one soon to come out, and best of all, he is born and committed to Stanislaus County. Before he comes up, we can give him a hand. Before he comes up, hopefully you noticed, several of you noticed because you made comments to me about it, but you notice that we're throwing cash out on the table today. We decided to be really generous and use nickels and not pennies. What I want you to do, my vote was for Susan B. Anthony's, but we couldn't find enough for that. So what I want you to do is I want you to find your coin. So there should be enough coins there somewhere for each of you. And I want you to take a moment and just look at it, okay? And you can examine it. You can see what year it was minted. You can see what unique marks are on it. But what I want you to think about is this. I want you to think about which side is more valuable. Okay? While you're doing that, would you welcome with me Dr. Chris Fuzie?
Thank you. Okay, so you take a look at that coin. What do you think? Which one's more valuable? Which side is more valuable? How many? Raise your hand if you think it's heads. Raise your hand if you think it's tails. Raise your hand if you think it's neither. Raise your hand if you think it's both. Okay, so now we've covered the whole thing. Well, think about this for a second. The value of one side, whether it's heads or tails, is the same as the other side. When you use that coin, how much is it worth? But don't consider inflation and all that other stuff, okay? Come on, let's keep it real. How much is that worth? 5 cents. When you spend it, when you use it. So let's think about followership. Some people may say the head side is more valuable because it's heads. And it's lucky. But then you have other people that say neither one. But the value is the same. So when we think about followership, well, let's do a little test. I'm going to do a little test with you. I want you to shout the answer, the opposite of the word I say. I'm going to say a word, you, as quick as you can, give me the opposite. Okay, ready? Up. In. Fast. Stop. Leader. I didn't hear that so well. How come? Is follower the opposite of leader? Why not? Oh, they work together. Tell me a little more about that. What do you mean they work together? Right, right. I say that a lot in many of my trainings. If you're a leader without a follower, you're just somebody out for a walk. Yeah. But guess what? If you're a follower without a leader, could you be just somebody out for a walk? Or could you be a leader waiting for a follower? Yeah, let's think about this for a second. So that's what my book is about, and that's what I've been talking about for the last few years, is this idea about leadership and followership. And what if you're the only person there, or you're the person that has to do both leading and following? Where is the value? Just like the coin. Is it the head side? Or is it the tail side? Or is it when you're doing both, leading and following? You're doing the behavior of leadership and followership. So this is what happens with leadership. There's an actual process. Leadership is not a person. It's not a trait. It's not all these other things we like to think of leaders as, put them up on here. And I was intrigued with some of the words. Some of the words wow, that got really loud. Some of the words you guys used were humble for a follower. You also want humble for a leader. There was another one up there that said, what was it? It said, wimpy. Think about your organizations, the organizations you run. What would happen if all of your followers decided they didn't want to show up one day? How much would get done? So when we look at this graphic here, if you look at the orange and blue stuff that's surrounding that, that's called the situational context or the situation. And most leaders are doing a couple things. They're trying to solve problems, they're trying to take advantage of opportunities, or they're trying to make a decision. Those three things is what they're trying to do. That's that situational context. Then you add in a leader, a person who's actually leading, and then you add in a follower, a person who's actually following or doing something. And you have to have an interplay of those things going on. That's what creates the leadership process. If you take any one of those things out, you don't have leadership happening. But then we go one step further. If you look on, this side of the screen, you'll see that leadership process. And it says up there that you have that interplay of behaviors between the leader and the follower. Just like the coin, right? You don't have one side or the other. You have both. But in a leadership process, you have a leader and a follower and the situation. In liminal leadership, a liminal leader is somebody, liminal means in the middle or transitional state, okay? So someone who's by themselves and they have to lead and follow, now what do? What's more important? The title of leader, the title of follower, or the behavior? What do you think? It's behavior, right? So if you're the only one there, are you leading? No, because you're just a person out for a walk. Right? You're just doing what you have to do. If you're the only one there and you're the follower, are you being a good follower? Are you wimpy? Are you submissive? Are you humble? Or are you just getting the job done? That's liminal leadership, and that's also exemplary followership. So when we talk about this as both leading and following, then you have to consider that down at the bottom it says focus on the leader-follower behavior, right? So think about your coin again. We'll go back to the coin. When you spend the coin, do you always make sure that it's head side up? Maybe if you're OCD, but do you always make it head side down? Some people, when they flip the coin, they always look for the heads. Some people, but the fact of the matter is, when you spend that coin, you're doing the behavior and using that coin the way it was designed to be used. It has a value, and you're trading it for something else, right? So it becomes the behavior that becomes most important. So if you look at this graphic, you'll see on the one side you have follower behaviors. There are certain things. I'm in a liminal position. I also work at the district attorney's office. I'm the business manager and the HR manager for the district attorney. So I'm number 3 in the succession there at the DA's office. And a lot of things don't go to the elected official. And so I have to lead and follow. Every single day I try to make decisions that are in line with what the district attorney says, this is what we're going to do, without having to go ask them, right? I mean, can you imagine walking in every day, hey boss, what do you want me to do, right? We're not going to do that. But every day I'm making decisions, having to be a good follower, but then 163 other people that I'm leading, I have to be a good leader. And what that starts with is my behavior. It's our behavior that we have to pay attention to. So, and then on the other side, you have the leader behaviors, right? If you put those two together, what makes them really tick is when you add shared leader-follower behaviors. So think about your organization. Think about the people in the middle management. Do they do some things that are both shared by leaders and followers? Yes, they do. And that's those leader-follower behaviors. So when you think about leadership, it's not the opposite. They have the same goal. They're headed in the same direction. They're a lot of times doing the same thing, and they're wanting the same result. Does that sound like an opposite to you? It's not. So when we talk about followership, we have to talk about these behaviors and think about the behaviors. So because the behaviors become more important than the position, we need to think about what we do when we train people. If I train somebody just to do a follower behavior, what am I going to get? Just follower behaviors, right? But if I train them to do the follower behavior and be prepared to do a leader behavior, what am I going to get? You could get both, right? So now let's put this into another context. In your organization, do you need succession planning? Do you need people to be ready to step into a role when the person ahead, how many of you want to go on vacation, right? Who's going to take over when you're on vacation? Yeah, I want to be able to leave and know that stuff's going to be handled. So I train my people to do my job. A lot of people think that that is dangerous because it's a threat. I think of it as freedom because I can get out when I need to. For those of you that are getting towards the end of your career, start thinking about an exit plan. Who's going to fill in your spot? Now, if you started training people from the very first time they come in the organization to do leader roles as they move up, now you've built a succession plan without even having to think about it. And the behaviors that you want, right? I'll just share this for a minute or so. In the last probably 12 years, every class I do, it's kind of like what you did here with the Slido. I ask questions. Give me 2 traits or behaviors of a great leader. And what I found is there's 86 behaviors that people do as great leaders. And out of those 86 behaviors, what I've done is I've asked people, I said, okay, so now how many of these 86 behaviors do you not want in your followers? And they want them all. They want them all. Because those great leader behaviors are also great follower behaviors. So think about the training that you do with your people. Where should the training be focused? Position or behavior? So on the back table, there's a couple books, and all my books are behavior-based leadership because that's what I work on. But when you talk about this, we're talking about behavior-based. Those books, if they're complimentary, but if you want to make a donation to the National Leaderology Association, I'd appreciate it. But this thing about followership, I was talking to somebody earlier today that said a month ago they would have thought about it differently. That's my goal. My goal is for us to think about leadership and followership not being opposite. The people that are in those middle leadership, liminal leadership roles, those are the people that you have to make sure that you train them on leadership and followership. Because without followership, where would you be? Out for a walk, yeah. And it's supposed to rain today, so what's the point? Yeah, yeah. So I want to kind of let you think about this for a little bit. First of all, let me ask: are there any questions? That's a lot to take in. It's a different kind of mindset, a different schema, a different mental schema for us. But I want you to think about how are we training our followers right now? Do we just train them to a certain level, or are we preparing them for the next level? Are we preparing them for the next level after that? So that's kind of where we're at. And what I'd like you to do is, are we okay to do the? Yes, sir. We're okay to do the.
Is the view of leadership and followership, is it different? Is there a different viewpoint generation? Do they operate in different definitions?
Yes. I'm going to say yes. The generational, this is what you're asking about, the generational thing? Yeah. So I grew up as a child of the 60s, right? Very fun time. And you were a follower, especially because we just came through the Second World War. We went through Korea and Vietnam, and we have, the draft. And so if you were an officer, you were a leader. If you were enlisted, you were a follower. And so that's the way we've seen it, right? And that's a traditional view about leadership and followership. There's this power difference. Well, what you see now within a lot of organizations and culturally and within the newer generations is, I don't care, I'll go do it myself. I'm going to make my own rules, right? So they're empowering themselves, and I say they because I'm not one of them, right? And we were talking earlier about the difference in cultural stuff. When I grew up in the 60s and 70s here, and versus people elsewhere and people nowadays, you did what you were told. The teacher was in charge. The principal was way in charge. So you think about that. Is that the case anymore? It's not the case anymore. We still try to hold some of these values that we had in the 60s and 70s, and they may not be working. And so we have to think about this a new way. So if you continue to think of the coin as the head side is more important than the tail side, you're going to get stuck, because what's going to happen is you still have to spend that thing, and you still have to spend the whole coin. So our values are a little bit different, and the values in the generational, the generations, especially the newer generations, the newest, they got Google at their fingertips. They don't need to work for 30 years to get experience to know how to do something. They can Google it, right? Something to think about. But going back to the followership, what I'd like to do is we want to do another table talk. And so what I'd like you to do is talk about, I don't know if I need to put a new slide up, talk about the training, how you train your people. Are you training them for, there you go. How would your team's leadership training look if focused on behaviors of good leadership and followership? What pieces would you add or subtract to your training? What would you prioritize? So that's a lot to think about, and especially make sure you throw in the followership, because without followership, your leadership is just out for a walk. Thank you very much.
Oh, really? Turn it on? Thank you. We had a great conversation, and at my table, man, some incredible wisdom. I hope you're getting that too. And at my table was the person who said a follower is a wimp. So at my table, and it was not me. So I would throw that person under the bus, but maybe I won't today. A wimp. Remember Popeye? His friend was Wimpy, right? Remember that? That's generational right there. Thanks, Chris, for that. I was curious, and we were curious about the conversation around followership or leadership, because in this generation, it is about knowing how to be both simultaneously and contextually, and knowing when to step back and when to step forward, and still be able, those of us who are first responsible, to still be able to be still first responsible. And it is an art form, and it is learning, and to some degree it is generational. Again, in my season of life, I grew up with the military kind of leaders, where you had a role and you did what you were told, and you shut up, and you had to do a dance, and that was just the model of leadership. And things have changed now. They've changed, and in leadership with candor, adapt or die. And we've got to figure out, even generationally, young and old, or whatever generation you are, is how to operate together and how to walk together. And in my mind, I've used, and we were talking to the table, but I used the soccer team mentality. Now, growing up, quarterback, we'd get in the huddle and one person would talk. And then we would all say hut or whatever, not say anything. Now, that's just not how it is. We're all on the field and we're all moving, doing our parts, and that's an art form of learning how to do that. So thank you, Chris, for that. And he'll be in the back later. You grab one of his books. And I want to remind you, whenever we have a presenter come in, we always say this, is that, the crowd is amazing. They all want to work together. You all want to collaborate. You all want to partner together. You're all looking for building trusted relationships, knowing that in this generation, no longer to get the best results do we operate in silos. And there are times in collaboration or finding people that you actually want to take action together, that there are times when you do need to step back in humility and let somebody else lead because they do better than you do. And so I want to thank you for being here this morning as well, many of you who come regularly, because you continue in your pattern of participation here, is that you show that you actually do want to not only be a person worthy of trust, but also looking for those trusted others where you can join together and you can make a change together, not only personally, but community-wise. We were talking at our table, and I'm not a processor. I can make, at least I've been told, that I can make decisions pretty quickly, whether good ones or bad ones. And so it's important that I have processors around me who will then cause me to step back and become the follower as I respond. I hope I'm okay with that. It depends on what my team would say, whether I'm that way or not. But talking about that, Catalyst becomes a space, and I want to remind you, this is not one of those groups where you come in, you sit at your table, and you just want to get the program done. This is one of those places, I want to continue to encourage you, like many of you already know and do, to come a few minutes early, meet people. I know sometimes it's hard for you to meet people because it is hard for me, whether you know that or not. It's sometimes, but I want to continue to encourage you to meet people, to find out, and my table's laughing. What are you guys laughing about over there? You making fun of me, Erica? Okay, Erica. I won't say anything about Wimpy, all right. It wasn't Erica. But it's not a sit at the table. See how I got distracted? Rabbit. There it is over there. But we want to continue to work together to stir change. I want to continue to encourage you to reach out and find people that in the future you can work together to make change. And it becomes a mantra for us or something you hear all the time. But I was taught years ago, you keep telling people over and over and over what you're about, and then eventually somebody gets it. And so you'll hear that a lot from us. And so I want to thank you for being here this morning. For those online, great to have you here. John Torres is your host. I'm going to make Veronica, if you could come this direction. I do want to introduce, as Veronica's coming, Jennifer Hidalgo. Can you stand, Jen? We're real excited about Jennifer. Jennifer is the new Community Relations Manager for Stanislaus County, and she is taking Erica's place, so there's definitely an improvement there. And so, I got you back. I got you. I sat over there. They were making fun of me the whole time. I have no idea why they were doing that. So this is Veronica. You were with us. You're going to be with us in May. So why don't you, and then we're going to sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. What do you think? No. We have the privilege of having the Modesto Nuts in our community, and Veronica is an amazing general manager. Candidly, she's an amazing human being. She is. So she's going to tell us what's going on next month.
Thank you, Marvin. So in May, we're going to have a panel out here, and you're going to get to see kind of the whole world of baseball, because a lot of people that come to our game, they only think about baseball, they only see what's going on, but the operations behind it is immense, and the amount of energy to just put on that game takes a whole year to do it, and we only have 6 months to do it. So you're going to hear a little bit about our stories, and it will be myself, another front office member, and you can see the difference in stories from there on how they got to their position, how I got to my position, and we're also going to have a player out here as well, so you can hear about the baseball side and how they're here, because one thing that we always have to correct the public on is that these players are actually not from this area. 99% of them will be lucky if they're from California. Some of them are from across the country. Others are from an international, Australia is the furthest we've gone so far. So they are professional athletes. They are signed with the Seattle Mariners. So that's something that you're going to get to know a little bit more and more of, and hearing their story and then the office story, because running a baseball team has basically two different operations, the baseball operations and the business operations, so you'll get more information next month.
Thank you. And I do with sincerity. You're amazing. The head owner of the Seattle Mariners called me the other day and wanted you to be their general manager, but I just trashed you so you could stay with us. I said, oh, you're awful. She's awful. So someday you're going to do it. Come on up, John, and we'll have Veronica help as well. So we have you hopefully have a raffle ticket, and we have some tickets for Modesto Nuts opening game. So if you could pull out, you get to be with John and Alicia, and Veronica's going to, that's right. So you want to hype the game a little bit, and then we'll have Veronica pick the cards.
Hype the game? Hey, we're going to a baseball game. And you get to roll with me. I'm telling you, you put me in the corner because I'm too wild. So we're about to go to the game and get wild out, right? So I'm in, right? We're good? They finally let baby out of the corner. Yes. Oh, here we go.
These tickets are for April 9th. It is our home opener. We actually start on the road April 5th in Stockton. But on our home opener, we are the reigning champs. So 2023 California League champions. First 500 fans will be receiving a replica ring giveaway. So some fun there. And then we'll be having a champagne toast and just celebrating with the community on our championship. So more hype on that end.
So I'm about to get blinged out, too? Let's go. We out here, we're just rocking it. I love it. Okay. All right, ticket number 602-5108. And you're going to get 2 tickets, so you get to bring a guest. 602-5108. Oh, hey, Sabala, right there. Yeah, hey, did you guys notice he narrowed it down too? Now we know there's 4 over there that it could be.
Wait a minute. Wait, let's double check. I know him. That's it?
I don't know.
I know that fool.
All right, ticket number 602-5082. Hey, Jose. We trust you, just not Sabala. All right, I'm going back to my corner, guys.
Thanks, Veronica. Let me thank God for us, and then hang around. We're finished early. Lord, thank you for the fun and the laughter, for understanding even better leadership, followership, focusing on behaviors rather than roles, something I surely need to think about. And thanks, Master, for the privilege you give us to live and work in this community, whether it's Modesto, Turlock, Ceres, wherever it might be. Thanks that you brought us together to do amazing things in your name, as well as for the sake of those who are less than and those who need us as influencers to step up and care for those that are less fortunate than us. Thanks for this time together for Chris. In Christ's name, amen. You have a good day. Hang around.